cannot leave you, so it breaks my heart to go. Something tells me I am needed at the front to fight for the poor. See the boys in blue are marching, and I can no longer stay. Once I hear the bugle calling, goodbye, darling, goodbye.
G'day everyone, welcome to part 11 of the series. I've decided I'll try out the camera and do this, but it's going to be a little bit weird because, as you can see, I write everything old school on a script, so I'm going to be looking down a lot. But yeah, we'll give it a go. Jack Geddes, I assume that's how you say it, Geddes. Played 41. Jack Geddes, born on the 4th of February in 1868 in Camberwell, Victoria, was a 174 centimetre full forward who represented Carlton in the VFL, then a team called the Mines Rovers in WA. So he must have moved to Perth for a bit. Then landing at the Pies in the VFL for a couple games. That's all we really have for Jack. He appears as though he moved back to WA again after his time at Collingwood and living out his life there. He died on the 3rd of August in 1949, aged 81, in North Perth, Western Australia. An obituary in the West Australian newspaper reads, Geddes. On August 3rd, 1949, John Geddes, late of Elmsmere Street, North Perth, formerly of Park Street, Subiaco, dearly beloved husband of the late Annie Geddes, loving father of Jack, Carlton and Eileen, aged 81 years. Player number 42's Alf Catlin. Alfred Ernest Catlin, born on the 18th of August in 1875 in Collingwood, was a 173 centimetre forward, recruited out of Maryborough. As you probably have assumed, there is not much out there on the 9-gamer. His best performance was the second game of his career, where he kicked 2 goals against the Saints in a round 3 win. That's about it. Alf died September 13th, 1944, aged 69, in Richmond, Victoria. Player number 43, Bob Rush. Now, here's a name that most will recognise. Robert Thomas Rush, born on 9th of October, 1880, Richmond, Victoria. Or as many younger supporters may be inclined to hear him as, RT Rush. He was an 177 centimetre defender, recruited from CBC Parade. As has become common with how I present these, I'll rattle off the accolades so they don't get lost in my ramble. Premiership player, 1902-1903. Collingwood Life member, 1909. VFL Life member, 1937. Collingwood Hall of Fame, 2008. Collingwood Caretaker Premiership Coach, 1930. A stand at Victoria Park's named in his honour. Also, the runner-up in the Best and Fairest receives the RT Rush Trophy. He was also the VFL Treasurer in 1931 to 1932. He was President of the Australian National Football Council from 1935 to 1946. And lastly, for all these accomplishments, he received an Order of the British Empire, commonly seen as an OBE. Bob was no star footballer, but he was fast, consistent and determined. Wal Lee said of him, quote, he could always be relied upon to keep his man quiet and clear the ball effectively. Sounds like quite the role player and the quiet achiever. However, for a period of 3 years, starting in 1902, he was regularly amongst the team's best. That's during premiership runs, so performed when it mattered. In 1906, he suffered a broken finger, which would become problematic to fix, missing most of that year. Returning in 1907, however, the end was near, and in 1908 would fall out of favour and retire. Immediately upon his retirement from the field in 1908, he took on the role of treasurer, a post he held for 42 years. When auditors went through Collingwood's books in 1950, they were amazed to find that they were virtually without a mistake. He took great pride in his work. The books were always up to date and accurate. He took his duties as a badge of honour. Another interesting fact was in 1910, he came up with the club's motto, Floreat Pica, which in Latin is May the Magpie Flourish. In Bob's time involved with the backroom operations of the club, he oversaw 9 premierships. There'll be very few individuals across all of the league that are close or even surpass that. Former Carlton coach Jack Worrell once wrote, quote, "It is men like Bob Rush, as an old player and legislator, who makes this game of football and keeps it pure. Australian football is safe when in the capable hands of men like the Collingwood delegate." Now, I referenced 1930 before. I'm not sure how well known this is, and I'm sure a lot listening to this know that the current coach at the time was the great Jock McHale. He was bedridden and couldn't coach the team in the grand final that year, so Bob stepped in. He delivered the halftime address when the boys were 21 points down, looking rattled. He said his speech had a lot to do about the love for the club and for the jumper, and for Jock, who couldn't be there on the day. Harry Collier said of Bob's speech, it was a turning point. Quote, "I thought we were gone for all money, but after he'd finished speaking, I knew we would do it. I could see it in the players' eyes. The Pies would go on to kick 8-6 in that third quarter, and the script completely had flipped. Not long after, they had achieved the amazing 4 premierships in a row." Bob lived until the age of 94. Amazingly, a little fun fact to throw in, he was an active rower until the age of 91. So, better get on the row machine. He died on the 13th of March in 1975, aged 94, in Northcote, Victoria. There are a few obituaries floating around. I saw fit to read one written by the family. Apologies in advance, the print on this was quite hard to read. I think I've got the family names correct, however, I'm not 100% sure. Rush, Robert Thomas. On March 13, loved father of Sheila, Don, brother of Thomas, John, Bernard, Leo, Brian, Gerald, and Kevin. Rest in peace. Finish off today with a bloke called Jimmy Ryan, player 44. James Francis Ryan, born on the 1st of March in 1879, was a 173cm half-forward flanker recruited from Richmond City. One of those footballers, unfortunately, with really nothing else to add. His 2 senior games were both wins. The games were against Carlton and St Kilda, and that's it for Jimmy. As always, if you happen to be a family member who has stumbled across this, would love to hear anything more. Jimmy died on the 28th of December in 1954, aged 75. I couldn't find a family obituary, however, I found a funeral details notice posted a couple days after his death. Ryan, the funeral of the late Mr. James Francis Ryan will leave our parlours, 170 Sydney Road, Brunswick, today, Thursday, at 2 p.m. for the Preston Cemetery. So he was buried in Preston. That concludes today's video. Thank you for watching. I didn't really explain what I really do with this channel, but my aim is to drop between 2 or 3 videos a week on, mainly football, and then the cricket season will be more focused at cricket. Looking at getting into some other things, I'll just see how things go. But yeah, love you to comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. It does help a lot. Cheers. See you on the next one.